This build features content from a pack that I got for free through the EA Creator Network. Today I'm building in Henford, and it is part of a Spellcaster build series that I did back in 2023, and it is pretty much just this exact style that I did with like the giant pink mushrooms and the glowing pinkish purple realm of magic orbs with some sort of white walls and fancy windows and very dark roofing with a lot of lush greenery. And I did 3 of these back in 2023. I just recently uploaded a short where I was going back and looking at some of my older builds, and it inspired me to pick that style back up. And so I decided to go with something small and something that I knew that I'd be able to finish. And so I did a micro home for this one. And because this one is a micro home, I did furnish this one. The other ones were just a series of empty shelves with floor plans, because at the time I remember wanting to build but not wanting to have to furnish a lot, because sometimes I just want to build but the interior kind of takes a long time and that could intimidate me, and I just don't want to do that. So back in 2023 I was doing just floor plans. I did 3 of them, like I said. One of them was a farmhouse with a gardening space. One was like a huge mansion. And the other one I don't really remember that well. I think it was pretty small, but it had like a lot on the exterior going on. And that was like the fun for me, was that I got to do a lot of exterior landscaping without having to worry about doing anything on the interior. And I think in the last 2 years I've gotten quicker at exteriors. So like I feel like that's not really a problem anymore, but the interiors do take a lot of energy. But I did do the interior for this one because it is a micro home. Once again, my micro homes, I guess some people consider cheating that I do a fake tower on the exterior, literally just because I want it to look interesting. And I feel like part of the spellcaster shells and the style that I was going for used towers in each of them. And so I couldn't really leave that out. And right now it does say tiny home. That's because I forgot to delete the floors in the like top tower. But I'll do that after when I realize, because right now I'm not really paying attention to that. I'm just picking out the windows. I used the same Glimmerbrook ones that I used in the other ones, but for this one I was like experimenting with different things because I didn't want to just use the same exact things. It's been 2 years, so a lot of packs have come out since then, so I decided to use the Life and Death like greenhouse ones. I thought that fit the style really well, and so that part ends up being a very small dining room with a whole bunch of plants and greenery. It's kind of hard to see the floor plan in that section because I used a lot of like these hanging green plants that I think are meant for the exterior. I've used them for the exterior a lot, but I decided to use them inside, and so they kind of like border some of the walls, and it's a little bit hard to see if you're like zoomed really out, but I think it should be okay for gameplay. If it is annoying, you could just delete 2 of them and it should be fine. I'm actually going to pull up a few pictures of those builds. Thankfully, I put all of my old build pictures on an external hard drive, so I was easily able to grab them. And so you'll be able to see like what my thought process was when I was landscaping this one. Just enough so you could see the sort of plants that I was using. I wanted to be very lush, very overgrown. And this one is the farmhouse. I kind of use the same sort of plants for each of them. But with this one, I wanted to take a different approach and just use things that I kind of like now, what I would change, because it's been 2 years. So I definitely like change my building style up and what items I like to use. And so I decided to use those bushes to create the more lush areas. I don't actually know what pack they're from. I didn't really notice, but I decided to use those ones because I think originally I was using like there's like these ones that go on roofs that I think are in multiple packs. I know there are some in Snowy Escape, but there's they come in all their packs as well, and I couldn't tell you like which ones I used for that. I'm most likely the Snow Escape ones back in 2023, and I'm deciding to use these larger bushes. One, because I thought that they were like very big, so I felt like I didn't have to use as many of them if I like just like scatter them around. And you'll notice in the older ones, the landscape was very flat, and that's because I wasn't very comfortable with the terrain tool at the time. I also wasn't comfortable with tool mod either. I mostly used tool mod to lower objects on shelves or slightly lower things into cliffs and stuff. Like, I was really trying, but I didn't really understand it very well. And now, I mean, like, I've been building every week for the past like few years. And so I've gotten used to doing this with tool mod now. And you can see I've grown a lot as a builder. And like back then, I would have never been able to even do what I think now is a very simple sloping landscape where I just had two different heights in the terrain and I blended them with the smooth tool, and then I covered it with these rocks to make it look a little bit more natural. I would have never been able to do something like this back then. It does get easier with time and practice. Like now I kind of know the tool numbers a little bit on like lowering things. Usually it still takes me like a couple of tries, but now it's like becoming muscle memory, especially with like moving multiple rocks at one time. Because when I was first downloaded tool mod, I just like didn't know what I was doing at all. And so it took me a lot longer to like lower down stuff because I was like individually doing it instead of selecting all of them, which is like either control or alt. I don't really remember. I just click the buttons and whatever works, works. But I'm happy that I looked back at some of these builds, especially this, because I don't think I was ever going to do another part in this style because it was so long ago. And like when I forget about things, I just like forget and it just no longer exists in my mind. But I really did like this style. I think that it like I might have stopped because I feel like it was getting repetitive after three of them, but years went by so I can do the same sort of thing, and maybe I'll do something else like this. I was going over the idea of eventually doing a community lot using this sort of style with the pink mushrooms and the glowing orbs and stuff. I'm going to be a little bit busy though, so I don't think I'll get around to doing that for a little while unless I like really get inspired and it comes very naturally to me. In that case, then it would be like an instant thing because this build didn't take me very long because I was feeling really inspired when I was making it. And now saying that, I kind of do like the idea of maybe doing a greenhouse sort of park lot in this style. I think that could be really fun, have a whole bunch of flower fields around. That's something that maybe I'll get started on. I don't have a build planned for next week yet, so I could end up doing that. And it could be like fairly quick then, because I think for the most part it would just be landscaping and exteriors, except for the greenhouse. Maybe I'll have a little like indoor area where you can have tea and stuff. I've made a lot of tea rooms before, but I haven't done it in a while, so I think it's okay if I do it again. I think that's gonna be my next video. I really want to do that now, so I think I might actually get started on it today, and if not today, then I'll get started on it tomorrow because I really want to just like layer a whole bunch of flowers of different heights and just go completely overboard with it. So I'm really excited to do that. And I'm like, I want to keep working on my Copperdale save file, but unfortunately, I think I'm gonna take like a month or two off of doing it. I'm gonna like start working on some builds for it, I think, but I think I'm gonna have to take another pause on that one because I really want to do my more nature inspired builds now that it's spring and I've been gardening a lot. And so I think that's like transferring over into what I'm most inspired to do right now. And I really love how this landscape turned out. Oh, yeah. You see what's happening with the chimney? This has never happened to me before. It was not angling correctly. And I think maybe it's because of how steep the roofs are, I don't know, that's never happened to me before, so I decided not to put a chimney in this build because I just didn't want to figure out what was wrong with that. And now I'm doing the interior, which goes by very quickly, I think, because it is very, very small. I first try and lay out where I want the kitchen to be, and I really liked the idea of having counters that like overlook the dining area, but I have to remove one of them, I think, because I needed some more space for the bedroom and I couldn't fit a lot in. And at one point, I was like, can I even afford to have a dining room in here? Or is that like too much space that's like being taken up? Because I was like, maybe I need that dining area to be a bathroom, but I made the bathroom very, very small and I made it like towards the front of the build. I have to swap out the front door for a single tile door to make the bathroom work. I couldn't even take a picture of the bathroom. That's how small it was. It's like an L-shaped bathroom, 3 tiles. The shower is just one of those wall showers. And so it's not the best. It's not practical, but it functions, or I think it functions. I didn't play test this, but I didn't see anything in the build that would make the build not functional. So I think it's okay. I'll just play test it right before I upload to make sure. Like, even to, okay, I was gonna say, maybe I need to make sure your Sims can walk through the front door, but I did lower it down just in case so that it shouldn't be a problem. I really loved using round windows on the roof peaks. I feel like it really helped to break up how sharp the angles are, and it just fits perfectly there. So I use a large round one in the front, which I think is from Wedding Stories. My Wedding Stories, is that the name of the pack? I think that's what I used in the front. And then the one from the front door is just a cottage living stained glass one. And I really like how they look in this. And I haven't done an interior for this sort of style yet, so I didn't know what I was going for exactly. I knew that it needed to feel like elegant and fancy, and so that's why I picked out those Realm of Magic counters. And because I think I was trying different things and I realized that I was going for something that was more rustic, which I feel like is most of my builds are a little bit more rustic. And this one, I was like, oh, wait, this needs to feel very like expensive. And so I went for a more like, I don't know what kind of tile it is, a marble tile, I think. I used the same one in the bathroom and in the kitchen. I felt like it worked really well for like what I remembered the floor plans to look like. I don't know what I actually used in those houses, but I know I used light wood, so I made sure I had light wood flooring throughout the rest of it. And I was like, okay, I need purple accents in here probably because I have the purple and pink accents on the exterior. So it would make sense for me to bring that in to the interior as well. So I pick out a purple rug and I probably have some other purple accents around. I know I used the crystal ball from Realm of Magic 2. Or no, that one isn't from Realm of Magic. That's from the paranormal stuff pack. And I placed that around in a couple places because I was like, this is supposed to be a spellcaster home, and I kind of forgot about that a little bit. So then, like, last second, I also put a cauldron outside because I was just like, oh, wait, I definitely need a cauldron for this build too. Also, there might be a little bit of jumping of the camera while I'm doing the interior because it is raised up on a hill. I had to fight with the camera a little bit, so I might jolt around a little bit. I would recommend, if that's annoying, to put it in a smaller screen if you're watching it full screen, and so it's like not as irritating to see. But I picked out different sort of like witchy clutter. I had another pop of purple. Like, there's not too much purple in here, but I feel like it's just enough because the exterior doesn't have a lot of purple either. It's just pops of color here and there. And so that's what I did with the interior as well. The kitchen has the most clutter because it's kind of, I think it might be the largest part of the build. And you know what I'm realizing? There's no living room. This is the second time I've done something and I didn't have a living room area at all. I could have tried to put in a sofa in the dining room and have one dining room chair on the table and then a couch on the other section. See, this like one time before I did this, and it was in a little bit of a bigger build too. But I think like sometimes I just focus on getting like a kitchen and dining room in. If I really want a dining room, that I forget that I maybe could have tried to fit in some sort of living room with a chair. I actually have no idea if that would have even worked for this build unless I made the kitchen a little bit smaller. I don't even see that being possible though, no matter what I did. It's not that big of a deal anyway. I do have a desk in the bedroom that has a computer, and I don't really think TVs are that necessary in builds, especially in like these like witchy builds that I make. I feel like a TV isn't really something I'm thinking of for them. At least we have like the typewriter from Cottage Living, so can always add a computer in, and it'll like make sense, and it like matches the aesthetic that I'm going for. Where the TVs are a little bit more difficult. It's like because I usually use the like Basement Treasures one, but even that I don't think would have fit into this build that well. You know what I'm realizing? We got a framed TV in one of those kits, the Secret Sanctuary one. That could have fit in here. I mean, I haven't uploaded yet, but I don't know where a TV would go. I would have to size it down a lot. And maybe, I don't know, if you download this, maybe I made some slight changes, but it's probably likely just going to stay as is unless I find a good spot for it. But you can see I put most of the clutter in the kitchen because it is the largest space in this house, and I think turned out really nice. I think maybe I have one counter that can be used for cooking. I believe I should, maybe not. I'll look into that too. But yeah, this is what I'm talking about, where if you look from the top, it's a little bit hard to see into the dining room from like a bird's eye view. But if you like tilt it a little bit, it shouldn't be a problem. Or you can just delete some of them because it's not really necessary. I just liked the idea of having that draping over the walkway leading into the dining room. I was just picking out a lot of clutter that was neutral, and because I was like, yeah, this all looks really nice. So there's like white flowers, that cow plant skull I thought looked nice on the floral wallpaper, and most of the color comes from the plants that I have around the place. It was nice trying to figure out what kind of furniture I would have in this style because I did make the other three builds for this, but I never furnished any of them. And so it was nice to like piece together things. I mostly used Realm of Magic stuff with the like dining room chairs and the stove and the counters. You could see the bathroom, how it is an odd shape, and I did have to use like a snowy escape shower in there. This build would have been really beautiful with a clawfoot tub, but I would have had to take the whole dining room and make that the bathroom. And I really liked the idea of having the small dining room, and I put a tarot deck in there, so it's like a nice place for the spellcaster to read tarot. I feel like that was more important to me. I think maybe if I would have done that bathroom, I could have actually fit in more of a living area with a couch and stuff and had the bedroom be a little bit more open. I think that would have fit all the rooms in, but I think it's okay that it doesn't have a living room. There's at least a desk, there's a place to sit at the dining room table. I feel like there's probably bookcases around, or maybe there's not even a stack of books somewhere that I might throw in too. I'll do like one look over while I'm playtesting too, since I haven't playtested yet. But that cauldron fits in perfectly in that spot, so it was like great that I was like, wow, great spot to fit in this cauldron. And some screenshots, it's not that much to see. It's very tiny. But I managed to get in a picture of each room except for the bathroom. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that I'll be able to get that park idea that I have in my head done this week to upload next week. But yeah, thank you so much. Bye.